Hey YouTube, this is SS Indie Productions back for another game review. Recently, to commemorate the recent release of the PlayStation Vita, I'm going to do a quick review on its predecessor, the Sony PlayStation Portable system. PlayStation Portable was released in March 24th, 2005 in the United States. It is under the category of a 7th generation system. Some interesting things about it. This was Sony's first foray into the home video game, the portable video game market. For years the market has been dominated by Nintendo, so Sony figured, why don't we give it a shot? In terms of build quality, the PSP is actually a really well put together system. In terms, it's really comfortable. It kind of harkens back to the old Game Boy Advance setup in terms of shape. It's got a nice screen here. Pretty decently sized. It's not the best quality nowadays. It still pixelates a lot when you get really close up for gameplay. Controls, you got your classic standard 4-piece Sony D-pad here. Feels really good. It kind of mine wore out after a while, but I've had mine since 2005, so it can be expected. Then you have your classic X, square, O, circle button, circle, triangle buttons. Classics. These feel really good. They work really well. Unfortunately, they're not pressure sensitive, but it is a handheld. On the top, you got left and right bumpers. And a cool thing, it does have an analog stick. You have this little, see this? That is actually a little circle pad analog stick. Unfortunately, there is only one, so camera controls are usually left to these guys up here. To these guys, yep. Sony would fix this with the release of the Vita, but at the moment you only had one. But then again, the DS had none at the time. Now, one of the biggest complaints with the PSP in terms of size and quality was a lot of people claimed it was too big and bulky to fit in your pocket. Now, I'm one of the few people who doesn't believe that statement was of good justice, because around the time the PSP came out, this original model, the later models of the PSP, this is the first model, but there was later models which were thinner. When this model came out, the DS's looked like that. And to be honest, I think this was more comfortable in your pocket than that. Yes, the DS Lite, later on released, was a lot better slim quality than the PSP ever was. But for the first models, I don't see what they were going with there. Now for the media that the PSP runs off, it actually is, I believe, the first handheld that ran off an optical disc media, rather than cartridges or cards as the DS first started using. The PSP uses UMD discs, essentially mini DVDs, kinda. I thought this was kind of an an innovation, kind of, you use the discs. I mean, yeah, it did lower, the disc drive did lower the battery pretty fast, and there was load times. They weren't bad, but there was also the internal disc reading system. Those were expensive to make, so those also rose the cost. In the later models, they took a lot of that stuff out to lower the cost. Eventually, they came to just eliminating it entirely. But they just the cartridges, the discs go in like that, close the case, and you can play. Side here, you have a battery compartment. You get some decent battery life out of these things. I think you can get at least 6 hours at the most, which isn't bad. On the top here, you have your USB connector, connect to the computer, essentially open button, Down here, that is your charger. Mine is hooked up because I have not touched this thing in about a month, and it is dead. Power switch. And on this side, that is your Wi-Fi switch, I believe. It turns on the Wi-Fi. Over here there's a little compartment over here. Slides out. And inside is where you place your memory stick Duo. This isn't a Sony brand one. This is one I bought because the Sony one they gave me ran out. But it's essentially an SD card. You can buy them anywhere, and the system came with one, something that the Vita did not. And you can still play it even without it. The original card, I believe, was they looked like this. They were essentially just it's about 32 megabits, not much. So I replaced with the 2 gig, which is it's still not that much, but I don't play my PSP that often anymore, and I don't have that many games for it. But overall, pretty good system entirely. The games came in packages like this, like little mini DVD cases. Here's a couple of the ones I have. Star Wars Battlefront 2, decent port from the PS2 version. Mercury Meltdown, fun little puzzle game. Challenging at times, but it's pretty fun. Sims 2, this is actually, if you're used to like the other Sims games, this one is entirely different. It's weird, like it's kind of like an adventure story game, like story mode, RPG-ish kind of game. It's actually really fun. I think it's like the best Sims game they're made, actually. Like besides the PC versions. But it's actually really fun. Good PSP game. Sonic Rivals. If you're a Sonic fan, you'll probably like it. If not, yeah, probably not. It's weird. You actually race in 2D. It's an interesting game, though. Good graphics. Fun game. And then Ape Escape on the Loose. This is actually a remake of the first Ape Escape on the PS1. It's a good remake. Controls are kind of iffy, though, in my opinion. I prefer the 2 analog sticks, which this thing doesn't have, unfortunately. And then I'm getting a message on Facebook. I just ignore that. And then the game I have inside is Daxter, which is by far one of the best games on the system. A lot better than that last Frontier crud that we got later on. Let's boot this guy up. So here's your menu screen. It's the cross media bar, same thing as the PS3. You can still go on PlayStation Network. You can buy games off the network, even though you need a memory. You need a good sized memory card for that. And then you can play your games here. So I'll boot up Daxter real quick. Show a little gameplay footage. Graphically, this thing is about equivalent to the PS2, essentially, which is pretty damn good. Good old loading sounds. I think this system is superior in many ways to the DS, but I believe the 3DS did catch up in terms of graphical power. Sorry about the glare. I can't really record a handheld that great, but I'll just try and give you some quick gameplay just to show off the graphics. It's pretty much uses the same system as the PS3 in terms of all its menus and stuff, which is cool, nice, because I actually do like the cross-media bar system. But graphically, she's pretty much a PS2. Unfortunately, camera controls are kind of stiff at times. And like I said, I can't really play through the game. Overall, I think the PSP had a lot of potential when it first was released and everything. A lot of potential when it was first released. It is by far the best-selling non-Sony handheld there has ever been. I mean, non-Nintendo handheld there's ever been. Has a lot of great games for it. It could also play videos. Back when they had UMD videos. Unfortunately, it's kind of starting to die out now that we have the Vita, which is in every way superior to this thing, with the exception of some things, which I was a little bit annoyed about. But overall, great system. Alright, this has been SSND Productions. We're going to sign off.